I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Those words are often attributed to Voltaire, which isn't quite right. They're actually the words of the historian Evelyn Beatrice Hall, who was attempting to summarise Voltaire's views. No matter. It's still an elegantly phrased ideal, one that encapsulates what it means to live in a free society. So why is it that the two oldest and most prestigious universities in the UK are producing students who so fundamentally oppose this principle? Isn't the whole point of university to open your mind? This Tuesday, Kathleen Stock is scheduled to speak at the Oxford Union. Professor Stock is the philosopher who wrote the brilliant book Material Girls, which argues that the recognition of biological sex is key to the preservation of women's rights, which, up until approximately 10 years ago, was a wholly uncontroversial concept. Now it's enough to have you smeared as an unreconstructed bigot and a leviathan from the deep. But Stock isn't being monstered for her views, not really. She's being attacked because she has the courage to say them out loud. Because, let's be honest, virtually everyone agrees with her. We all know that no human being has ever changed sex. We all know that opportunists have exploited new policies of gender self-identification, not least in the realm of women's sports and women's prisons. We all know that there are good reasons why society takes into account biological sex differences and why it's regressive to ignore this reality. And yet Stock is being treated as though she was speaking the most outrageous and inexplicable heresies. And this is something we've all seen a great deal of in recent years. Angry activists working themselves up into a frenzy over what they imagine certain people believe. In this case, they think that asserting biological facts is akin to hate speech. Let's take the open letter that was signed by many Oxford academics, which argues that the Oxford Union should disinvite Kathleen Stock. Here's what they had to say. We believe that trans students should not be made to debate their existence. Right, just as well, nobody is suggesting that they should debate their existence. This is a fantasy, and it's a fantasy that's been expressed here not by raging lunatics online, but by Oxford academics. You would think academics, of all people, would understand the concept of having to support their assertions with evidence. But ideology doesn't work like that, and even the most intelligent of us can be captured by it. The fact that so many academics at a top university have surrendered their ability to think critically might explain why so many students are following suit. So here's an excerpt from a statement by the Oxford LGBTQ+ Society. They say, the Oxford University LGBTQ+ Society is dismayed and appalled that the Oxford Union decided to platform the transphobic and trans-exclusionary speaker Kathleen Stock. Stock has been campaigning against trans rights, labelling them as dangerous to women, calling for the exclusion of trans people from the LGBTQ+ movement, supporting conversion therapy and supporting hate groups such as the LGBT Alliance and Lesbian Project. Except none of this is true. It's not even close to being true. They might as well say that Kathleen Stock drinks the blood of newborn babies and sleeps on a bed of badger skulls. LGBT Alliance and the Lesbian Project are not hate groups, and Stock is not transphobic. She's not trans-exclusionary. She has not campaigned against trans rights. In fact, she has asserted openly and repeatedly that trans people deserve equal rights and full protections under the law. She has not said that trans rights are dangerous to women. She has said that gender self-identification can be exploited by individuals who wish to put women in danger, such as the double rapist Adam Graham, who changed his name to Isla Bryson and was housed in an all-female prison in Scotland. Saying that men shouldn't be in women's prisons has nothing to do with trans rights. It's about safeguarding vulnerable women. Now, you would think that a student society posting such obviously defamatory statements would result in some kind of official sanction from the university, but of course we live in bizarre times when libel doesn't seem to matter anymore. Activists can just say what they like. They can lie and smear and bully their targets with impunity. An article by Hadley Freeman in today's Times quotes one Cambridge student in the upcoming documentary Gender Wars who opposes Kathleen Stock's appearance on campus. This is what the student says. Being in the same room as Dr. Stock and hearing her say the things she says, when I know the meaning she has behind them, just feels aggressive against me. And that's the problem in a nutshell. It's not what Stock has said, it's the meaning behind the words that the activists, who also apparently dabble in amateur telepathy, are uniquely qualified to detect. And we hear this again and again, don't we? J.K. Rowling, who has never said anything transphobic, and yet somehow armies of activists and media commentators simply know that she secretly hates trans people. They just know it. To hell with reason, logic or evidence, They've got a hunch, and that's all that matters. So here's a suggestion for those who are trying to get Professor Stock banned from speaking at the Oxford Union. Rather than guessing her private motives, rather than interpreting her views in the least charitable way, rather than threatening to disrupt the event and stigmatising anyone who attends, why not go along and hear her out? You're allowed to disagree, even robustly. That's the whole point of the Oxford Union. You might even learn something. You might realise that your fears about a genocidal maniac who wants to eliminate trans people from public life are all the stuff of fiction. Or you could just stay outside, bang your drums, scream mindless slogans, and refuse to open your mind to the possibility that you could be wrong. But to do so is to surrender to a life of infantilism. And like all toddlers who resort to tantrums, you'll soon realise that you won't always get your own way. At some point, you've got to grow up.